everyone? I'm Extra Eric, and welcome to Pop Off, the show where I pop off all about the biggest topics in pop music with my super fan friends. I am beyond excited for this episode because we are going to be diving into everything about Miley Cyrus's new album, Plastic Hearts, and joining me is a coworker and Miley super fan, Annie Dow.
Thank you for having me, Eric. I have been talking about this nonstop to my parents, to really anybody that'll listen for the last, I don't even know how many days. So I'm glad that it's you I get to talk to about it because you're the only one that really gets it.
Oh, honey, that is why you are here today, because we talk about Miley 24/7, and I am so pumped that we actually have a new album to be discussing. How much do you love Miley Cyrus?
I just feel like the limit cannot exist with how much you love Miley Cyrus.
I truly cannot even believe that we are in a new Miley era. It feels so surreal in so many ways, and I want to just jump right into it, and I want to know, what did you think about Plastic Hearts?
So I like that you said that because I feel like all I've thought about for so long is her bangers era. And I loved Younger Now. I know you love Dead Pets. I know you loved all that stuff. But finally having this where she's just so in her pocket and so just rock and roll. And like, I just picture her like ripping her shirt and just being who she really is so awesome to watch. And I feel like as a fan from Hannah Montana to now is the coolest thing to watch. Plastic Hearts was the album where you feel absolutely everything.
Everything.
She just hits on every song. I there was nothing I could skip.
I love that you talked about her being in her pocket and stuff, because I think I love that it's also 2020, because 2010 was Can't Be Tamed. And I feel like this is what Miley wanted to do in 2010 with Can't Be Tamed, in the sense that it's all of like the rock and country influences, the guitars and everything coming through. But she was so much younger back then. And now, like, that was her real first album, I feel like. We're not going to count Breakout as much, especially coming out of all the Disney stuff. But I think this is the 2020 version of Can't Be Tamed in so many ways.
And just with how much she's grown, and even her talking about her 27th year and kind of just getting, involved with alcohol abuse and drug abuse and all of these different things, and kind of wanting to just wake up every day and have that clear mind where she can really just focus on the music. You can just hear it. You can hear how passionate she is about this album and how she just has nothing else going on but creating this perfect sound for her fans.
The lyrics are so raw on this album. And I know we said it before, so let's jump into some of the individual songs. Angels Like You, sis.
I had to stop. I was literally going to have a breakdown. I was like, we have to take a breather.
I also saw like some rumors on social media, because people were obviously diving into like who inspired these songs. And apparently Caitlin Carter is the inspiration for Angels Like You.
So I thought that too. And then Never Be Me is obviously about Liam, because that's where she says flowers and all of that stuff. But Angels Like You is definitely about Caitlin Carter, because I feel like that was somebody in some relationship where she knew Caitlin just like loved her and wanted to be with her and felt so safe with her. And Miley was like, no.
And she also talks about it being like the first time and all that stuff in the song. So there's so many hints, but I also don't want to dive into all of the inspirations behind it, because who wants to speculate? But I did at first listen to the album. I didn't think about any past relationship of hers, which I thought was so insane. Like I truly just like felt the music. I wasn't thinking about any of the drama. I wasn't thinking about anything. And then I looked up an article. I don't know. It's because I was so truly lost just in what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of my favorite aspects about Plastic Hearts, is because the album is so incredibly specific. The lyrics are so unique to Miley Cyrus, but on the flip side, it's so general at the same time and relatable for everybody else. Like that's my biggest takeaway from it all.
I agree. And it's just crazy that this album is so timeless. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's some songs on Bangers, on Younger Now, like that live in that moment for her. Like, she'll never make a We Can't Stop again, because that's just that part of her life. And I don't think that she's there anymore. This, like, Plastic Hearts, the song itself, is a classic song. Like, that is going to live on for 20 years. You know what I mean?
And I think Plastic Hearts for me wasn't one of my favorites when I first listened to the album, because there's so much else that catches your attention. But Plastic Hearts is like a grower for me.
See, I feel the same exact way because Angels Like You and Never Be Me were probably like my two. And
Never Be Me is a literal knife, just got me.
I, I and I just feel like it was like kind of me in a song. Like it's like I related that to that one the most.
Same.
And that's always like the worst when you're like, is she singing to me? Is she singing to me?
It's such a self-read.
It really is. And I'm like, oh, this is
Raise
just
your hand
awful.
if you've been personally victimized by Miley Cyrus.
But the more I listen to it, the more I'm obsessed with Plastic Hearts. I just think it is. I just think that that's something all generations can listen to. Like, it just makes me want to be at a club and like
Yeah.
wilding out with my friends.
And it's majority heavy rock music, but at the same time, I thought while I was listening to it, a lot of the songs are pregame songs. They're actual party songs that you would want to put on. So
100%.
it's a genre that our generation normally wouldn't really like to, but
Yeah.
it's that kind of music. What's also so fascinating about this album, for the first three songs that she said she wrote very quickly, she wrote that, like, first off, Ryan Tedder is a co-writer on those three songs, which literally mind blows, because I don't know how the dude from One Republic that makes all that music is literally in all of these songs.
He writes all the songs.
But what's so cool is that she wrote the album a lot with Andrew Watt, who's the producer on it, and Ali Tamposi is a co-writer on a lot of the songs as well. And they also worked with Louis Bell, who's on a few, but they wrote and produced the majority of Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man that dropped earlier this year with the Post Malone collab. And they also work with Post Malone. But like, this isn't the first rock album that these co-writers and collaborators have jumped on this year, and I think that also deserves to be spotlighted. Like, they just did the legend Ozzy Osbourne, and now they're moving over to Miley to do this album. I think that's what also made this album so perfect.
And the Mark Ronson of it all. Hi, are you kidding me?
It's still Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. Fantastic. And what I love so much about the song structure that she did, that they're very unique. And if you look at, I was reading along the lyrics as I was listening a lot of the times, and how she structured the songs is also a bit different from what's popular right now. Like, she has a lot of post choruses and guitar solos and really like builds out the song. It's not just verse, chorus, bridge, 100%. Over.
It's so not that like pop formula. It's not that stuff that we hear all the time anymore, you know?
Yes. And I love that every single song, the first line of the chorus is like an absolute scream anthem. Like, it blows from the first line of the chorus. Like, the verses are a bit more subdued, and then it is like a rocket.
Like, I was driving in my car on Friday, so I listened to it when I first woke up, and I was like, I gotta get in my car.
You texted me at what, 4 a.m.?
Oh,
psycho.
But you have to listen to, like, the way I like to listen to albums is listen to it by myself, like with my headphones on, and then get in my car and just blast it. 100%. And it was gripping the steering wheel, like head banging to every single chorus. That first line hits and you're like, oh.
It's so massive. And that, while I was listening to this album, and I think a lot of people don't really realize this, the album is also very reminiscent of like the early 2000s for the female pop stars at the time. Like, this album is so Lindsay Lohan, A Little More Personal, Raw, the second album after the Big Rumors album. Okay. And like, it's very reminiscent to me of one of my favorite songs, Black Hole. Like, when I said, when Lindsay would literally have that alt rock personality and would scream the lyrics, like, it's borderline screaming. It's like so big. And it's also very like Avril Lavigne and Ashley Simpson as well. Like, there's some shadow moments in here throughout the record, because that alt rock sound was massive in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But no one ever remembers that they did those sounds, because they have like Pieces of Me is what sticks out. No one really actually listened to those types of artists. They just listened to the hits.
See, for me, like, I mean, I wasn't a huge Lindsay fan or Ashley Simpson
Shocker.
fan in 2000, but this
Avril
is
too.
Right. But this is so Pat Benatar, Joan Jett. Like, I love rock and roll. Even in the video of Prisoner, when her and Dua are in the tour bus, and like the fishnets and just all of the odes that Miley's making to these 80s female rock stars. Like, that's what I feel like this album is. She's a rock star.
Literally. And I also need like a Miley do a sex tape. I'm sorry. Like, I don't even know what I'd be watching. I've never seen it before, but honey, like, after watching that, I need to see it. I
Do
don't
you
know
know how
why.
many times a day I think about Dua licking Miley's cheek? Like, I can't. It is.
Who would have thought that we'd even be getting this Dua? Like, Dua has thrown us so many curveballs this year after what she had dropped before at the self-titled. I'm like,
Dua,
sis,
what are we doing?
how do you, like, how does that video start? Do you just, like, show up and Miley's like, yeah, so we're literally just going to have sex in this music video?
Well, and I think Dua, I think because you remember when they posted a photo together and Miley was like, Dua's seen things that
Of
you guys
course.
haven't. So I feel like,
Great reference.
and Miley just makes people so comfortable that I feel like Dua showed up and Miley was like, this is what's going to go down. If, let me know your boundaries, but like, we're going to get really
We're
weird.
going to do it. And they did it.
And you do it with Miley, like you just do.
That's what I love about her is like that. It's so Miley.
It's so Miley. It's so pushing the boundaries. It's so teetering the line. It's making you uncomfortable, but you can't stop watching.
I think that this album, Plastic Hearts, has cemented Miley Cyrus like as a legend. Like, I feel like to me, she was always a legend. Like, she has truly defined our generation. But this album, I feel like for a wider audience, is really cementing her as the legend that she is.
I could not agree more. And I think it's so difficult as super fans. Like, obviously, you and I ride for her. And I will always, I've said it.
Would die for Miley Cyrus.
And it's so hard to explain that to people that just kind of don't get it. But I feel like this album, everyone respects her now. Because how can you not?
There's so many people that are posting about it and listening to it that I'm like, I know you never listened. Like, you were not there for Bangers. You were not there for the Dead Pets, honey. Like,
no.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I was front row at the Dead Pet show at the House of Blues in Boston? Yes, and she sat down in front of me and handed me a joint. And I was like, I am literally going to die. But it's just so funny. And I loved in her Beats One interview how she talks about how she changes so rapidly. And like 2 to 3 years ago, like I was watching her walk around stage at the House of Blues and Terminal 5 in New York with like multicolored dreads and like a giant dildo and like a slab of butter costume, like everything from that era. And now we're getting this. And before that we had Bangers, and I'm like, or Younger Now and then Bangers. It's just so wild to me.
I feel like Miley is kind of like letting your exes live on your social media. So you know how people like immediately go and delete their photos of their exes, right? I feel like Miley wants you to see her entire catalog and say, okay, this was me with We Can't Stop, with Wrecking Ball. And even in that interview when she's like, people are like, wow, is she ever going to make another Wrecking Ball? And she's like, that's who I was at the time. I'm not trying to make another Wrecking Ball. I'm not trying to make Malibu. I'm not trying to be Miley Cyrus and the Dead Pets anymore. This is me. This is who I am, and this is what I want to
like be. Right now.
Yes. And I think that it's just so cool, and it speaks volumes to just how secure she is as a human being.
No, 100%. And while we're talking about Bangers, so obviously Bangers is literally one of the best albums of the entire 2000s. It's easily top 10. It potentially could even be top 5. Like, I just don't know a better album. And I don't even like doing this with Miley Cyrus, but do you think Plastic Hearts has now surpassed Bangers?
The first thing I said to you was it's better than Bangers. And you know, Bangers was my most listened to album of the decade.
Same.
Like, I wore that album out and I still listen to it. Like, still at least once a week I go through.
Maybe you're right. Oh, that is my shit.
Everything in that album is just flawless. And again, at that period of time, you were just like, wow, she's bearing her soul, but she's also giving us pop anthems and radio.
The vocals.
Yes, all of it. But I think this is my favorite Miley Cyrus by leaps and bounds.
And while we're talking Bangers too, because obviously the VMAs was that era, you had the opportunity to interview Miss Miley Cyrus this year. Because I remember in the clip where she talked about how she realized her importance of getting people's attention and what she can do with like commanding people's attention. It's just so fascinating. And I feel like that was such like a turning point with the Bangers era. But what was it like to talk to her?
Eric, I wish that somebody could like track my heart rate. I wish people could actually see the sweat like dripping down my back during that entire interview. Like, I really don't get nervous, which is a good thing. Of course, like I get little jitters when we're interviewing people, but Miley is like my hero, and it was an out of body experience for me because I was like, there's no way I'm actually talking to her, and she's looking at me and I'm telling her a story and she's, saying stuff back to me and really listen. It was everything I wished for and more. And I can't even describe to you, like, she's so kind. She's so vulnerable. She's so open. She just isn't afraid to be who she really is, and she's not going to apologize for it. And that's my favorite thing about her. She never apologizes.
She was so great in that interview, in the chair and everything.
She doesn't want to hurt your feelings. All she wants to do is love up on her fans and love up on her animals and everyone in her life, but she's not going to apologize for who she is. And I just, I would die for her.
It's as crazy as 2020's been. Like, that was just such like a massive moment you have, but it's just another example of this year how it has been the worst year ever, but we've continued to get the best pop music out of it.
I couldn't agree more. Even having Future Nostalgia this year, like, I can't believe that was
Chromatica, like, so many things.
All of it. But Plastic Hearts takes the cake for me.
I don't know if I would put Plastic Hearts up. Plastic Hearts is top 3. I don't even want to think about it because I don't want to compare it to Dua, and I don't want to compare it to Chromatica. And there's so many other smaller albums like London Stella's 1, 2, 3 that I love so much that, like, I can't do it, but like I totally can. And like,
it is.
How do you rank Future Nostalgia and Plastic Hearts and Chromatica? Like, how do you do this?
I know. And I don't like pitting women against each other. And I think that they're all such good friends and like would just ride for each other anyways. But this album hits. It just hits on every level.
And 2010 for me, as I've mentioned, Can't Be Tamed so many times, was such like a massive year just like in my life. And I was literally going wild. It was like the years of Kesha, like when we had all of the good artists coming out with music. And I just love all of the callbacks to Can't Be Tamed in this album. I love what WTF Do I Know, how that's the opening to this album. Fantastic song. But it's just like how Liberty Walk opens Can't Be Tamed. It's just like that, like I'm coming out and I am literally doing my own thing. And I don't care what you think, I'm doing it.
And even rapping with Golden G-String, like just being like, you guys are going to write about my body and you're going to say all these things, but these men still control what they want to say about me. And she's like, if you're going to tell me to put my clothes on, I'm going to go the opposite way. Like
and make it fashion, honey.
And make it fashion.
I love that line so much. I'm also surprised with Golden G-String how it's really the only Dead Pets influence that really carry through on the record. It's very Dead Petsy, like the ballads from that and just like that whole introspective nature of it. But I'm surprised that more Dead Pets didn't cross into this. Even more bangers. Like it truly is like all of her older music. And I think that's just so insane.
Because that's who she really is. I think it's so dope to see people go through eras. And I know she doesn't even like talking about it like that because like she says in the interview, she changes all the time. Yeah. But it's so cool to watch somebody go through, when she came out of Disney and it was Can't Be Tamed. Like, I just feel like that's who she really is. And then was kind of like, oh, well, maybe I should go in this pop lane and do this. And then, okay, well, maybe I'll go the complete opposite way with Dead Pets. And then Younger Now. Like, it's just so cool to watch someone go up and down and then land here.
I think it's exactly what the fans wanted to, because they knew, like, this album is Miley Cyrus. And I think that's why it hits so hard. It's just like Chromatica, in the sense that we've all been waiting for that Lady Gaga dance floor anthem album that we haven't gotten in almost a decade. Like we've been waiting. We've had every possible thing you could have in between, jazz, country, like all that fun stuff. Just like Miley, we had bangers and Into Dead Pets and Younger Now. And like, there's been so much. And I think that's why this album hits so hard, is because this is the Miley we've been waiting for.
This is it.
This is she. She is here, and I'm so glad that those albums were scrapped. I was very happy we didn't get other stuff. I love that she has the audacity, too, to just, like, own her shit and say, this isn't relevant. Like, I'm not putting this out. I can do better, and I'm doing this. I'm just so pumped about that, and I'm glad we didn't get them, but I'm so happy we have Mother's Daughter and Catitude, because at least we got 2 bangers out of that.
You and the Catitude. I can't.
I love Catitude so much. It is such a gay song. I live.
Unholy and Mother's Daughter. Like, that'll do it.
You can have it.
Party up the street, too, honestly, at that point, but it's the Catitude for me.
While we're getting to the end of this, I just want to highlight some of my favorite songs, and I would love to hear yours too. So Nightcrawlin' for me is it on this album. Like, that is I don't need anything else. Do not need one other thing from this album, but I'll take everything. Yeah, like Night Crawling is really it. Give Me What I Want, also fantastic.
It's
Hate
so
Me is
funny.
really growing into a big one for me, which was sneaky.
I could like cherry pick your favorite songs.
It's so easy.
You and
so
I
easy.
we're two completely different people.
It's pick your favorites, and then mine are the opposites.
Yes.
What are your favorites?
So my first listen to Never Be Me. Never Be Me, I think, is the most beautiful song she has ever written. Like, it's better than Maybe You're Right for me. And you know how I feel about that song. Never Be Me. And honestly, Plastic Hearts. I'd say Never Be Me, Plastic Hearts, and WTF Do I Know are my top three.
Angels Like You also really needs to be up there, because I think Angels Like You is that stadium anthem song that's going to be one of the true timeless classics of the album.
And then I can't stop listening to Bad Karma either. Like,
I forgot about Bad Karma. I can't even believe that we have Bad Karma. Like, I just still see her in the party bus with Liam dancing to that damn song, and just like,
I always pick a
doesn't feel real.
I've always been the taker. Are you
sis
joking?
I live for the opening line about being ghosted, but I'm just a liar.
She's the best.
It's just too good. It is too good. So we have gone off a lot on this. I really just want to hear your closing thoughts on this album. What is it that the world needs to know about this album?
Just, if you haven't been a Miley fan for a while, or if you're not as big of super fans as Eric and I, just go into it with an open mind.
Honey, get on that level.
First of all, get on that level. What have you been doing with your life? But go into it with an open mind and just really listen to her pour her heart and soul into this, and know how much work and how long this has probably taken her to really come, and that she's just bearing her soul. Like, that is the most difficult thing to do, I think, and I could not be more happy for her. Like, it just makes me so giddy to just know that she has an album like this now.
We needed this timeless classic, just like she said with Midnight Sky, like that timeless music, even though all of hers always has been, but this is truly timeless music for literally everybody. And it's just nice to see. I think my only closing thought would just be that it's rare that you get to see an artist 100% on their game, 100% doing what they were destined to do, and 100% nailing their sound, just nailing the vision. Oh, well, thank you so much for popping off. I would love to know what the fans think. Let us know in the comments your opinions on the album, and if you agree with Miss Annie and I. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been so exciting.
It was so much fun. Honestly, like, it's so fun to talk about it with somebody, because nobody besides you and I.
Go buy the album, go buy the merch, go stream it, do whatever you can to promo it. We will see you in another episode.